Good morning. My name is Jesus Antonio Garcia Valadez. And welcome to this Google Talks virtual event. I am the head of cultural communications, and I'm excited to introduce to you today's guest. His name is Xolo Maridueña. He has built an incredible career in Hollywood. He recently wrapped filming a film called Killing Castro alongside Al Pacino, Diego Boneta, and Kiki Layne. He also has been seen as DC's Blue Beetle, the first DC or Marvel superhero of Latino descent. Yes. And earlier this year, he also wrapped the last season of Netflix smash hit, which is Cobra Kai, which, by the way, yes, Cobra Kai is an extension of the classic film of Karate Kid, but that franchise actually originally started as a YouTube Premium or YouTube Original series, which is when I first got to interact and meet with Xolo. So, Xolo, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to our talk set at Google. Good to see you.
Pleasure.
And by the way, we have these flags because we're at our first ever global Latinx summit, and we're representing.
That's right.
But
I got all the flags.
You have a lot more flags than I do.
I wasn't a baton twirler in high school though, so I don't have the sauce, but I got the flags today.
All right. So tell us actually before you begin. I'm obviously from Mexico. Mm-hmm. I was born in Tijuana.
Okay.
So really close to the border. But tell us a little bit about your flag collection.
It looks like I have a collection here. Pleasure, first of all. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I know I was so happy to tell... Hi. I was so happy to tell my mom that I was here. But I'm Xolo Maridueña, born and raised in Los Angeles. Lived there my whole life. But here, my flags, my mom is 100% Mexicana. From Las Vegas, but her family's from Nefe. And my biological father is half Ecuadorian, half Ecuatoriano, and half Cubano. So I'm here repping some flags. But growing up in Los Angeles, honestly, I gotta admit, it felt pretty Chicano down there. And I still live there, so that definitely influences a lot of what I do. Also, really quick, before I get into things, I just have to shout out a friend of mine, Isabela Montoya. I don't know where you are. Are you here? She's like, why did you shout me out? But one of my friends is here and works at Google here at YouTube. So it works.
That's amazing.
So hi, nice to see you.
Front row. She's going to distract you the entire
time. There we go.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Like I mentioned at the beginning, I really do believe that you are a trailblazer in Hollywood.
Thank you.
You embody Latino excellence, just like everybody else in this room does.
Yeah.
And we know that that is no easy feat, right? So now that you have gone through kind of this career jungle gym of sorts, mm-hmm. With no linear path, I'm sure. And we often never talk about how we end up getting to where we got.
Yeah.
Becoming a DC Marvel, first Latino superhero is amazing. So how would you describe kind of the journey up until this point, if you had to describe it in 3 words?
Oh man. I'd say in 3 words, 3 words is too little, but I can kind of say it like this. I feel like my journey, at least kind of career-wise and life-wise, because I'm still 23, so much of my journey is just learning to be who I am, like who am I, mm-hmm. just as many people in those ages are. But I'd say the journey has kind of been like one with a, let's say, high school sweetheart or something like that. I was so fortunate to have found what I wanted to do, my interest, at 10, 11 years old. So I've had the opportunity to sit there with my pickaxe chipping at this rock for a long time, or this statue, to figure out what it is. And for those reasons, the journey has been long. It's, you know, I'm 23 now, but I started acting when I was 10. And it wasn't like, I didn't start Cobra Kai until 7 years after that, you know, and Blue Beetle, my first movie came in 11 years into the game. So, so it has always been, it's been a resilient journey along the way for sure, but I definitely attribute my family, my friends, the greater Los Angeles area, my team, Brandon, who is here somewhere behind. Hey, right in front of Isabella. There we go. This is my corner right here. But I attribute so much of that to really allowing the foundation of my life to be rich, I hope. You know?
Is there something in particular that you remember as part of that journey that you feel like was kind of a turning point, or like where things just kind of, I mean, because now you're talking about like more than half of your life has been in the career.
Yeah. And now it'll be even more. Like with each year, it gets more and more. There have been a few turning points, you know. The earliest of which was probably getting to go to local theater. I was born and raised in East LA. I got to go to this free theater program, Casa 101 in Boyle Heights, and they introduced me to what it meant to be a part of a team, what it meant to be a part of a production. You know, here's a responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And then that was the bug for me. So that was kind of, you only know what you know. So at 10 years old, I was like, wait, this is really fun. This is a hobby. You know, it slowly turned into eventually Cobra Kai, which I would say is maybe the biggest life change, because that came at a time for me where my whole life was going to college. My whole life was wanting to be at a place like Google or wanting to go into, you know, college. But my junior year is when Cobra Kai started, and then by the time my senior year, college started to come around, I was like, oh shoot, it was kind of a fork in the road. And I decided to go to community college, continue doing Cobra Kai, and we just finished that a few months ago. Like it's been 7 years, and it's definitely, that's why the journey is, like you're saying, non-linear, because there are so many folks, so many examples of people that I look up to who didn't work this young, or who started after college, who experienced these things. Morgan Freeman, who started when he was 40 or 50 or whatever, you know? So I'm still figuring it out.
And by the way, you said college, but you were in high school.
Yeah.
When you started Cobra Kai.
I was a junior in high school. Yes. I had auditioned for it as a sophomore in high school, and they didn't let me know I got it until like 2 weeks into my junior year, and then they said, you're moving to Atlanta next week, so pack your bags. Boom. And 7 years later, here we are.
Yeah, and what's interesting, and I think you probably won't remember this because it's been so long, but I do, because I remember when we were first promoting Cobra Kai as part of YouTube Premium, we had to coordinate with your parents to do the press interviews after school. So trying to get you to connect with
I know, I wasn't homeschooled. Yeah.
To try to connect with reporters on the East Coast after 2:30 Pacific time was an interesting challenge.
Yes, you know what, you're so right. I mean, I bussed to the Cobra Kai audition. I bussed to ADR after the first season. Like it's been a long journey, but like you're saying, I'm so fortunate that I had family to really be there and help facilitate and help protect. But at the same time, it was so important for me as a youth I went to regular middle school, regular high school, tried my best at Pasadena City College, you know, to get a higher education there, and that has always been really important to me. My best friends are the friends that I've had since middle school and high school, so I think you need that, a little bit of that at least, to be well adjusted as a young actor, because there's so many catch-22s or like goofy things to loop yourself into, you know?
And to be grounded.
For sure, yeah.
So you've been in the business for a while now, and it's widely known and studied that there's a lack of representation of Latinos in Hollywood, both in front of the camera and behind the camera. how do you feel that has impacted your journey, your career, or even the way that you show up?
Great question. It's impacted, I have to imagine it's impacted every single corner of my life, especially in the career aspect. But growing up, it was difficult because there just weren't as many roles for little brown kids. Like my first theater show that I did, I was playing like the younger version of the gangbanger in the play, you know? And it was great, and I gotta tell you, like, at that place, they were doing a great nuanced story, and I was like, oh, this is, there's some levels to this. I'm not just saying, I'm not just post it up or whatever, but those were the role, like, that was the role that I wasn't playing Peter Pan, So those were the...
Did you want to play Peter Pan?
Fuck Peter, no, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't. I don't know why I brought Peter. I'm sorry. No Peter Pan slander. I have nothing against the man Pan, but those were the kind of the struggles at the beginning because my parents also coming from this advocacy background and instilling these really these strong roots. They were like, that's not even us, bruh. Like they want you to do an East LA accent, but this is how you talk. So I had to purposely at the beginning steer clear of those kind of and try my hardest. And sometimes it meant like not having an audition for the month or for the couple months or whatever. The challenges outside of that, I guess, are once you make it in the door even, the industry will tell you what you are. Like Hollywood has been making movies about Latinos, for Mexicans, for these cultures without really looping them into the mix. Yeah. So already going into something, like a Cobra Kai, like a Blue Beetle, there's already so many of these preconceived notions as to who you are, what you're representing, what the demographic is. Like you were mentioning, Latinos are the biggest moviegoers. They percentage-wise, they go to the movies the most, and they're the least reflected. But you go to Los Angeles, I live in Los Angeles, and more than half of the people are Latino, but I know every single show that's based in LA, that's not the case.
Right.
So those are the issues, I think, that the industry hasn't really caught up to how diverse the places that they're trying to tell stories about are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we all want more representation, more opportunities, more prosperity for everyone.
Of course.
Not just for Latinos. And it's interesting to hear you talk about that because you're obviously dealing with that day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely has gotten easier, and I think one of the things that I have prided myself in and that I'm so excited that I've been able to kind of gather people like Brandon, like my squad, is I've learned that being the first in something is hard, and that's okay. Like, doing Blue Beetle, like you're saying, it was the first Latino-led live-action superhero. And it seems like, great, you made it in, let's do it, let's all the bells and whistles. But there's still so many steps, day in and day out. Angel Manuel Soto, the director, he protected that film every single day. And I can tell you that if it wasn't up to him, if it wasn't up to the writer, if it wasn't up to people like Brandon and myself and the squad that was there to protect the project, it would be totally different because there's no people behind the camera in decision-making positions, in the boards of executives that are speaking our voices, that are representing us, right? They're like, just give them the Latino budget. We're not going to be there on the day anyways. It doesn't matter. They'll work it out. Like.
But you killed it.
Thanks, bruh.
You really killed it.
G. Thanks, G. It was the best time ever. It was the most fun I've ever had on anything.
And I mean, there's so much of the culture and your lived experience. We talked very briefly in the back about that. I have my very own cabezon, who actually is watching us right now. So hi, Santiago.
Hi, Santiago.
But our kind of going back to what you were saying, our lived experience as Latinos in the U.S. makes us uniquely equipped, and we have the cultural insights, the understanding, the knowledge, and hopefully now the influence a little bit to rewrite the script on how we're telling our own stories, on how the business sees us. How do you navigate those moments where you have the opportunity, or have you even had that opportunity to begin to influence some of that? I mean, obviously you're doing it in front of the camera, and that's amazing. And like you said, it's not easy. But have you seen opportunities where you can start to influence both what happens in front or behind the camera?
Absolutely. I think one of the best examples to me has been my mother. She came from the radio industry, but now for the past decade has been running this nonprofit in Boyle Heights called the Boyle Heights Arts Conservatory. And that is geared to teaching kids about the jobs behind the camera, behind the mic, behind, whatever. And then teaching parents like, yo, there is money to be made in these fields. Like, gone are the days of you have to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer. If, I understand that there's financial stability and security in those, but you can be a gaffer, you could be a boom operator, you can be a sound mixer and make just as good money and get to still scratch that creative itch that's yours. So I think that really helped put into my mind, instill into my mind that it is possible. And there is a difference. There is, when you intentionally position a Latino costume designer onto a project like Blue Beetle, there is magic that gets made there that you wouldn't have had otherwise, because there's that, like you're saying, the diaspora, the culture, the ancestors that help, that it's in your DNA, like you can't help it.
Yes.
Did that answer the question? I'm like,
I think so. I mean, I think that we all...
You have to be intentional.
You have to be intentional. I completely agree.
And nobody's going to do it but ourselves. Like, you'll just sit here and watch the opportunities pass by you unless you kind of grab them by the horns. And like you're saying, sometimes you'll fail, sometimes you won't do as well, but you got to keep doing it. And our culture is the best at being resilient in that regard.
And I think that's, I'm curious about that, because I think at least the fire within me, a lot of that is driven now by my kids, right? What doors, what paths can I open for them? What struggles can I eliminate, try to eliminate for them? So what is the drive? What's the fire within that really drives that opening the doors for you?
Money. No, I'm just kidding. It's gotta be. It's grown over the years, right? Because at 10, like I didn't have the worldview that I have right now. At this moment right now, the most inspiring things to me have been getting to cross the finish line on a project like Blue Beetle with the director and with the writer, getting to look at those folk and say, this writer, this director, they needed to tell this story. And I got to be a part of this story that they needed to do, that the world needed to see. And it's bigger than me. It's like it was an awesome opportunity, but the moment and that was really what I found was the most rewarding. And then after that, the next thing that I'm chasing is like getting to sit down in the theater with those little 5, 6-year-old kids watching Blue Beetle on the screen for the first time, seeing a Latino as a superhero, and having that internal, like, I don't know what's going on, I've never seen this before. I think we will be able to achieve so much more once we're able to show our kids, like, you can do it, And so that's kind of what I'm chasing now is the opportunity to do that in different lanes. Like you're saying, I just got off of this flick, Killing Castro, 1960s period piece, all real characters, Malcolm X, Fidel Castro, all of these. So I got, you get to bring another form of representation and showing that we can be, part of the FBI, the CIA, we could pass a good test, So
is that your character? Is that you're giving away your character?
I'm an undercover agent. That's right. It is, yeah. But it's so weird, right? Because I did that at 22, pretending I'm 26. I'm like, I'm an adult.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. College, finished that.
I'm gonna jump around a little bit. So Blue Beetle 2?
Yeah.
When?
I mean, there's
you
still
had
so many things that.
conversations?
Yeah. So basically, the way that it works is, they have their new universe. We're gonna see how the stuff that they have planned out for this new universe goes. We have the Blue Beetle animated show that is gonna continue and pick up where we left off in the movie. and then in success, we'll pop back out on the other side, you know?
All right.
We gotta have a second one though, because they said I could only keep the suit if we do the second one, so I'm like, come on.
So wait, do you have it?
No. It's in
storage.
It's in Burbank somewhere
It's
in a storage facility.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Hoping that it will fit you the
The
next
butt
time.
is catching dust. Yeah, it's like.
I have to ask, you have what seems an insatiable curiosity and creativity. You have put out a single, you have acted, you've done theater, you have a podcast, blogcast.
Whoa. That's right.
Los Lobos.
Lone Lobos, that's right. Shameless plug. Check it out.
You've done series, movies, the whole bit. How have you navigated, or where does that curiosity come from, that creativity come from, and what's next?
Great question. I think a bit of it comes from, I think, my parents in their ability to instill confidence in me as a youth. I was always really curious and always wanted to do everything, and they would throw whatever, like they were always down. I remember like being in elementary school and being like, I want to do stop motion animation. And they were like, all right, there's a CalArts program in Eagle Rock. Let's sign you up for that. Or like, I want to try jiu-jitsu. Okay, let's do that. Like, those opportunities helped the days where I wasn't booking roles, because I knew that like, oh, my family's there. That's what, remind me of the question again?
Where does the creativity come from?
So this is one aspect of it, and then also just the snowball rolling.
Yeah.
Getting to do Cobra Kai and then getting to do Blue Beetle. I'm like, oh shoot, it's happening now. Like I'm in the position to tell everyone's stories, hopefully, and that I don't want to squander that. And at the same time, as someone who is a fan of music, of photos, of movies, of all of these different forms of media, I want to have a part of it, and I want to celebrate. I'm not trying to like with the single. I want to put out something fun, and I want to tell our story, but I don't need to be Drake or whoever. Like I don't need to come out as like, I'm a hybrid, by the way, you know, triple threat, you know. If it comes into that, and if it evolves into that, that's great, but I have the humility to know that like, I don't want to call it out or be like, this is what it has to be, because all of the opportunities thus far have been like, they have come to fruition. I haven't been like, I really want to do a karate show next, guys. Can we please find something in the valley? So
you're going with the flow.
Going with the flow, and at the same time, I'm still 23.
Yes.
So I'm still like,
Yeah.
I think one of the hardest parts is just like growing up and having everyone judge everything about it and not know who you are, you know?
Yeah. So you mentioned Drake, so should I assume Team Drake or?
No. no. I'm sorry. I said I'm not trying to be Drake. No, it's, I have no issue with Drizzy if you're watching this right now. Shout out to the Six, but I am Kendrick. I mean, West Coast, LA all day. That's right.
Let's shift gears a little bit. I know that we have some questions,
Love that.
and we can throw them on the screen.
Oi!
Oh, so we
my
have
gosh.
our first question from Natalia Silva, and she says, Oi, Xolo, huge fan from Brazil here. In Cobra Kai, Miguel went through quite a journey, learning different fighting styles and life lessons. If Miguel could visit Brazil and learn a unique fighting style, which one would you think he'd be drawn to? Capoeira or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Oh, snap. Great question. I have 2 left feet, so I'm gonna have to go with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu so I can stay on the floor. Capoeira is really exciting. In this last season of Cobra Kai, because we're heading into the World Tournament, we've grabbed moves from all different types of martial arts. And I've gotten to do a bit of capoeira and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in this newest season. But jiu-jitsu is more fun. Yeah, I like jiu-jitsu.
So you've tried both?
Oh yeah, dude, we've tried capoeira, Brazilian jiu-jitsu in Brazil. I mean, we do kempo, judo, karate, Krav Maga, kickboxing. Like we try it all.
Okay.
Great question, Natalia. Prazer. Tudo bem?
Now we're going with Ashley Camacho. She said, thank you so much for joining us. I love Blue Beetle. The question is, was there a challenging moment early in your career that almost made you quit a project or change course? How did you navigate the situation to push through? And do you have any advice for other Hispanic Latinx to overcome it?
Great question, Ashley, again. There have been moments, I guess, like, I didn't even know that I could take acting seriously and like do it as a job until I booked Cobra Kai.
Wow.
All up until that point, and that was a junior in high school, all up until that point, it was like a fun side gig, a means to pay for college, to save up money, but like it wasn't gonna go anywhere. So for those reasons, I can't say younger than that I really felt like I'm gonna quit. Like I'm not gonna do this because it was strictly casual until it wasn't, you know? But I think sometimes like the nerves of trying to rise to the occasion do irk me before rolling, like before actually getting onto the project. I remember heading into Blue Beetle being like, dude, I'm #1 on the call sheet. This has never happened before. You know, what do I like, how, and also I'm 21, like I'm supposed to be the one setting the tone. But Susan Sarandon is on set as well. Like, how am I #1? Do I have to talk to her about that? Like, what is there? It was nerve-wracking because it was like all of this preparation that I had put into all of these years finally coming into fruition. And then you get there on the day, and it feels a little bit. I refuse to use imposter syndrome, but it feels like, wait, it feels so good. Is this how it's supposed to happen? Like, it felt like we were firing off on all ends. So I try to remind myself, advice for anyone, not just Hispanic and Latinos, like, it's not if, it's when. Like, I think you should do what you love, and you should do what you love. And at the same time, it does take a little bit of extra work. Like, I have just noticed that, like, sometimes, like, at 10 years old, I had to be well-adjusted and ready to be on a set. You couldn't, like, I had to, if I wanted to get into this opportunity, I had to be, like, on point. And you gotta learn the rules to break the rules. Like, I think maybe.
I like that. I love that, actually. Yeah. I love to break the rules.
Yeah.
No, but I think what you're talking about is we oftentimes don't talk about it, right? The nerves, the do I belong here, the how do I show up, who am I representing, part of it. But I think that what I always try to remind myself and others of is you're there for a reason, and you deserve to be there.
And you're enough.
And you're
like,
enough.
There were so little rooms as a teenager, like as a teenager kid actor, where you walked in and you felt like who you are already was enough. Like, you were always walking into a room trying to change, trying to look different, trying to sound different, trying to act different. But it's so refreshing to get to walk into a room like here at Google or like wherever and just be like, yo, I can be me, and that's cool. Like, that I think is one of the biggest privileges, and I would strive, I've worked so hard to be as authentic as I can be in every facet so that I don't have to sit up in here and be like, I'm faking it, and then go back and be like, oh, that piece of shit!
Well, it's liberating.
It's
liberating because you're being your true self all day, every day.
100%.
And there's nothing more to it. All right, one more question. Xiomara Contreras loved Blue Beetle. We have a lot of Blue Beetle fans.
Thanks.
I laughed, I cried, and it made me think so much of my family. I agree. It's one of the few films I've watched that felt authentic to me as a Mexican American. What do you think is needed to drive more support for Latino, Latinx films in Hollywood?
Great question, Xiomara. it's two-pronged, I think. It might be more than two prongs, but it's both ways. Like, people, the Angels of the world, the Gareths, the writers, the directors, the producers, the studio execs need to be more reflective and also need to, like, they need to make more projects like this. But at the same time, when a project like that comes out, it has to be supported.
Yes.
Like, the industry moves on dollars, and like, watching time is the currency. So if a movie comes out and it bombs in the box office, or it doesn't perform as well, or if it doesn't meet that quota, right? Like, you and me, Shamara, like, the quota is it good? Is it great? Like, did I feel something? You know, but for other folk, for the studio execs, it's like, did we make enough dollars? Did enough people watch this? So we have to watch them. Like, we gotta support it. If we, you know, we gotta watch Blue Beetle 1 to get to Blue Beetle 2, you know?
Yes.
So, and with that, you know, we wanna, like, open the doors for all of, you know, I don't want it to just be Blue Beetle and the rest of the, you know, yeah, so I want there to be other, like, I want to open the door for your favorite superhero, you know? So like, in layman's terms, like, what needs to happen? Maybe the studios, yeah, should put a little bit more emphasis on creativity and understand that specificity is broad. Like, everyone's always looking for, like, a 4-quadrant show that appeals to everyone and everyone can watch it. And it's like, but Blue Beetle is that because you're honing in on a Chicano family with a Mexican, you know, mom and a, you know, Chicano uncle, and this, like, that's what makes it relatable.
Yes.
And that specificity, the vaporu to wake you up, the this, the that, like, that's what makes people be like, oh, I feel seen. It's like, that's what needs to happen.
I mean, I watched it several times. And I think this last time that I watched it, one of the scenes that caught my attention was the scene where you walk into the Cord Industries lobby.
Yeah.
And we both have very unique names. And the receptionist is like, Jamie?
Yeah.
Jamie?
I'm like, she didn't even see a spelling. She's extra racist. I was like, there wasn't even a written thing. I was like, I just said it, and she was like, Jamie. But that's actually that's what it is like for me, because I'm like, hey, Xolo, pleasure to meet you. And they're like, okay, Xolo, so can you go over? And I'm like, what? Like,
it just happened to me, actually, this week in Atlanta. So I ordered food at the airport, and I said Jesus. The person at the register wrote Jose.
oh.
But that's why I feel seen in that scene, right?
Bojangles for Jose.
But the person calling out my name said Josie. So
Double homicide, bro. Damn.
So everybody can feel seen in
know.
so many different ways.
I know. I've started to walk around with just phonetic business cards. So I'm like, this is SHOWLO.
No, but to your point about the business, I completely agree. I think showing up for each other and for the community is half the battle. We need to show up. We need to use our voice. We need to use our power. We have 65 million strong community in the United States. More than 25% of Gen Z is Latino. So the numbers are there, right? We're the 5th largest economy in the world. If you were to just pull all of the resources of Latinos in the US, we would be bigger than a lot of the European countries. So the economic power is there, the numbers are there, and I think half of the battle for our community, I think, is what you're saying, is showing up and using that power, that voice that we have, to open up those doorways and those pathways.
100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
I'm gonna shift gears back to another question. I have some rapid fire things.
I'm terrible with rapid fire, but okay.
So what's the last thing that you Googled?
Last thing that I Googled? Probably like how to get here quicker. I was like, I was freaking out. I was like, what? There's 70 accidents. I don't have my phone on me. Brandon has my phone. But yeah, last thing I Googled was like, best food 2 blocks away from me at 11 p.m. last night. I was like, what is the best late night ramen in San Francisco?
And you found it, apparently.
Yeah, I found some really good ramen, yeah. So thanks, Google.
What's the last YouTube video that you watched?
My podcast. We had an episode come out today, and I was just reviewing it because it comes out, the team works on it last night, so I was like, I gotta make sure that everything's in there.
So tell us a little bit about the podcast, Los
We're
Lobos.
hitting 3 years up on it. The 3 anniversary's coming up. I host it with my best friend, Jacob Scott Thomas Bertrand. It's a current event podcast. We do it every single Tuesday. And it was really an opportunity for us to show who we really are. When we were doing Cobra Kai, he's the dude with the mohawk, and everyone came up to us and just thought we were the characters. And we were like, oh man, like we love the characters, it's great, but we wanted to show people who we really were and have people, if they choose to like us or enjoy what we were, like know who we are. And here we are 3 years later. It's been really fantastic. Next week, we have our Zack Snyder episode coming out. Oh. Like we've come into the position to be able to interview some of our favorite folk, but it really is supposed to be a lighthearted. We're under comedy on podcasts. So I was like, let's go. We could joke, but it's been one of the most rewarding and deeply personal projects because it's whatever we're bringing to the table each week. Like,
that's great, and it looks like you guys have a lot of fun.
We have the most fun. Shout out to Brandon, my manager. He listens to every episode before it comes out to make sure we're not saying anything crazy. So thank you. Thank you for keeping us safe.
I watched some of it. You talk about dating. You talk about. There was a breakup short specifically that I watched where you're giving him beef about breaking up over the phone or something.
Yes. Yo, so this is the craziest part because I'm saying, I'm 23. We're going through actual life experiences. So my homie is on the pod talking about. He's like, I can't break up with my girlfriend or blah blah blah. So we're doing an improv game where I'm like, I'm playing the girl, he's trying to break up with me. But then she sees it. But then she watches the podcast and she's like, hello? So Brandon didn't get that one out of there. Wow. Brandon didn't watch that one.
Do you have a favorite Google product? I have to ask.
Favorite Google product? List them off for me. I definitely do. The Google Pixel 7.
Oh, yeah, we have to get you updated.
Oh, okay.
This is a new Pixel 9 Fold.
Damn! Yo, you're like bunnies over here. Okay. The Google Pixel 9. That's my favorite. Yeah. Do you all have any cameras? I love photography.
Oh, really?
And the Google Pixel, the reason I like it so much is because the photos come out crispy.
Yes. Best camera on the market on a phone. You're talking to the right crowd. Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure, like napping passenger side in the road, like when someone's driving, just like nodding off. That's my
so not a good
being
co-pilot.
Passenger princess. Yeah, that's my guilty pleasure.
And your favorite food?
Mexican food is my favorite food, then Japanese food, then Indian food.
But is there a specific dish?
Chilaquiles.
Chilaquiles. Very cool. We had a chilaquiles doodle not too long ago on the Google homepage.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa. Wait, chilaquile what?
Doodle.
Oh. Okay.
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, can we send that to me, please? I'm gonna need that design.
All right, we're gonna shift gears now. We're gonna do Q&A. So if anybody has any questions here live in the audience, feel free to get up. There's a mic. And then in the meantime, while we get some brave souls here, I'll jump to the door here. And the next question that we have is from Roberto Diaz Gonzalez, huge fan. What kind of stories do you hope to see in Hollywood that reflect the Latinx experience? Are there specific projects that you're passionate about? Tell us all the top secret stuff that hasn't been released or you're in talks to do.
The EP is what I got coming out right now. It's coming out next month. It's inspired by Blue Beetle and Kendrick Lamar and the Creed soundtrack, Black Panther, all of that stuff. I would love to see just more happy stories. So more often than not, it's a trauma contest for how, you suffered so much and overcame so much. And I think that that's one aspect of the Latino experience, but I think there's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to tell like the Wolf of Wall Street, like the Latino has so much money and fucks off. Like I'd love to get to do that like type of role. But there's so much. They're like, we can do everything under the sun. What's up, bro?
I see you as Pancho Villa. But
Hey, okay, we can do it. We can do it.
So, about making it happen, my son is the biggest fan,
Whoa,
and I needed to come and get.
fire,
gonna
of
need
course. Easiest question ever. The yes or no's, those are my favorite, bro. Thank you, bro. What's his name?
Jaden.
Spell it for me.
Jayden.
Dude,
Look at that.
Dude, that's an ad right there, bro. Chill. Of course, bro.
Next question here, live from the audience.
Hi. First of all, it's such a pleasure to just listen to you speak. I feel like you are so beautifully authentic and show up fully as who you are, which I think a lot of us, maybe in our own experiences, that's really challenging, I think, to find that inner peace in yourself, to know that if you show up somewhere and you're received well, that's the place for you to be. So super love your energy. But what I wanted to ask you is, in your journey and your experience of getting to that point, who maybe was a role model for you, especially in breaking new ground and pursuing something like so revolutionary in the sense of like we have so much representation through you as a starting point, right? Like we're still growing.
Yeah.
So who's like your grounding point or who's your motivation?
Great question. What's your name?
Cecily.
Cecily. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
A few people in my life, I think my parents were the first two, like they are the perfect parents. So I still live with them. They're like, they ground me every single day by asking me to pick up the dog shit that's on the ground. So that's one way. Angel Manuel Soto, the director of Blue Beetle, his presence on set, like I was mentioning earlier, the way he protected that project, the way that, I would see the producers or the powers that be try to be like, we should change this line, or maybe this doesn't need to be in there, or maybe we have to cut this, or we're not. The way he was like, no, this is what it has to be. The characters, like, don't put subtitles there. I don't care if they'll know what's happening. These types of things was inspiring because I was like, oh, he did it. He walked the walk, he talked the talk, and he didn't let people like walk on him when they thought they could. Yeah. So that was like, oh, okay, I want to work with that guy again because he's got his finger on the pulse. And then William Zabka, Johnny Lawrence from the original Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. I came into that show when I was 16, and he treated me not only like an adult, but with respect, with love, with open arms, and that the off-camera informed the on-camera. Mm-hmm. So having someone who is willing to just be like, let's mess around, let's rehearse, let's do whatever, like, you can make this character your own, that made me want to do this for the rest of my life. Like before that, it was just a side hustle. Before that, it was just like something that was like fleeting. But after that, I was like, whoa, I want to be in this moment for the rest of my life. So those folk, there's so many more. My younger sister, Oshun, inspires me. She does theater, and it's been kind of like crazy having siblings in the industry as well, because I want to try my hardest to make sure that they feel like their own sons and not planets to my son. And I want to make sure that they can live out their dreams and aspirations and not like they're living in my shadow. So the fact that she has desired to do acting and do theater and do her own thing, it's so awesome, and she's loads better than I am, so she inspires me as well. But those are the folk that kind of keep me grounded.
I love that so much. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. Thank you so much. Pleasure to meet you.
More live questions.
Oh, one last. Oh.
No. I said more.
Oh, okay. I was like, sorry, y'all. Hi, my name's Easter. So my question's in regards to your names, because I remember like the first time I watched Cobra Kai a while back. It's been on for a really long time. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you love them checks. That's good.
Thank you.
But I remember the first time I saw your name, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, your name is so uniquely Hispanic and Latin, and do you feel that having a name as unique as yours, man, I wrote it on the thing and I forgot.
No, this is fire. You're on it. You're on it right now.
But
Having
your
a name is
as unique as it is, do you feel that it influences you or somehow pushes you to represent yourself in a different way within your work and your art?
100%. Great question. My name, I've grown into my name for sure. I grew up thinking nobody was ever going to say my name right, and because that was the case. My name is Aztec, like you're saying. It's Nahuatl, so it is super Mexican.
Super.
And in that language, and in that
Super
language,
as in superhero.
My middle
Yeah.
name is Citlali.
hey, there you go, exactly.
Yeah, so my
and in
name is
Nahuatl, there's
Nahuatl.
tons of ways to pronounce the X, right? Citlali, Xochitl, Xolo, So I've learned, that like your family gives you one name, so I gotta rep this, like this is me, this is who I am. And also, it's like a privilege to have a name that's hard to pronounce. Like, I want to tell people this is how you should learn it because they know how to pronounce Galifianakis or whoever, right? So I'm like, you can, the name, it's, two of them are the same letter,
Yeah.
So it's an honor to get to teach someone that, to have someone learn about Nahuatl or be like, the dog from Coco, that's me, bro. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like all of these opportunities that have like started to present themselves are all, I think, great seeds. And it's been an honor to have a name like myself. And I would say, yeah, you gotta keep saying it. You gotta, yeah.
Awesome.
And don't be afraid to correct other people as well. Like I grew up for so long just being like, you could say my name however, like whatever, but gotta say it correct, bruh. Like, yeah. It's just respect. Like you should want to say everyone's name correctly.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We have time for one more live question.
All right, so you really are the last one now. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, no. Why didn't you say it? Why didn't you say it? It's his fault. I want to be here all day.
Mine is kind of a two-in-one, a bit profession and a little bit professional.
Let's savor it.
So I'm from Brazil, and I'm starting to raise a bilingual son.
Okay.
And so you grew up in LA, you said, right? And then so the personal side is growing up, I'm assuming in a bilingual home because you speak both of them. What was the one thing that you were that really motivated you to keep speaking your Spanish? And I don't know, like if there was, I'm sure it was difficult for your parents.
Yeah.
But your thought, your perspective on that.
Okay.
And then on the professional side, I know that when in the industry you're representing not just your background, but all the Latinos.
Yeah.
And if there was any moment or any situations that you feel comfortable sharing of like a moment like, we need your accent to be more like this or like that.
Yeah.
I would love to hear those.
Of course. Pleasure to meet you. Prazer. Nice, pleasure. I love Brazil. I love like everything. I think I'm also it's so unfortunate how little Brazil gets roped into the rest of Latinidad. So I just want to, first of all, acknowledge that. The first part of the question was about bilingualness and children. Like, unfortunately, as you were saying that, I was like, oh my God, my mom's gonna kill me. My first language was Spanish, and I grew up only speaking Spanish. It was just my mom's and I. And then as I started to grow up and go into school and be like kind of integrated into the greater school system, I lost it. I lost it all. And it wasn't until I hit high school that I had to like actively start to do that again. Advice is like, teach that kid, like speak in Portuguese all the time. Because it is so, I am biting myself now, being like, damn, I wish I had learned Japanese and Portuguese and, like I want to dub myself in every language. But that's this, like language is really important and it definitely is, it is, even though it kind of trips me up because I'm like, but it wasn't even, is it our language? Is it? But the second half, in terms of language, I went to auditions as a youth at 12, 13, 14 years old, where the character description was East Los Angeles, Los Angeles kid, and I would go in there with this voice slightly higher and do the audition and have someone say, could you do it a little bit more East LA, or, Speedy Gonzalez, could you make it a little bit more like this? And as a youth, all I could do was laugh it off because I didn't know what was happening. I was like, that's silly, I live there, what do you mean? This is what I sound like, how can I sound more like anything else? But because I wasn't able to grasp what was happening in the moment. But now, I'm so blessed with not only a team, but they understand that that's not what I'm looking for. And it's hard to get that. It was hard to find a team that was okay with me turning down all of these vato roles, all of these maid roles, all of these, whatever roles. It was hard to find a team that was like, we get that. Because most people are like, we're losing out on money. Xolo doesn't want to play gangbanger number 3 in the next movie, and I'm not getting my commission. Fuck him. But it might take it a little bit longer, but it meant waiting for the Cobra Kais, waiting for the Blue Beetles, because they will present themselves, and I would never let myself get clowned like that again, for sure. Yeah. Thank
It takes
you.
courage.
Thank
it takes
you,
courage,
thank you.
patience, and.
But if you ever do see me in one of those roles, just know that I thought the script was really good, okay? Just know that the script was good before it came out, okay?
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us. We had an incredible chat, and I hope that everybody watching us all over the world enjoys it. So,
Thank you.
Congrats. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you for moderating. Thank you. Appreciate you, bro. Good job. You're good.